Noelcast, not so instant reaction podcast. Again, I'm recording from Tallahassee. Do not have the microphone and setup that it would otherwise. So forgive me if the audio is not that of what you have become accustomed to, or what you hopefully have become accustomed to. But yeah, 12:30 last night. Bud and I weren't going to do an instant reaction, or was not going to do an instant reaction. So happy to be able to jump on at 8:15 and give you a quick little ideas to what we saw, what it meant, and what it might mean moving forward. So, Bud, what were your thoughts there from 247 National?
So 66-13 is a really good scoreboard result for you. And I think you got to play a lot of guys. And if you're Mike Norvell, I think you're unhappy with – you're probably happy with the scoreboard. You're happy that you got to play a lot of players. You are probably pretty happy that you get to coach these guys hard coming up in practice and stay on them, right? And talk about the mistakes you made. And I think you're also happy that you have high-level athletes that can make plays for you, because clearly, like, this team still has stuff to work on. You know, they when they come out, the game's never in doubt. It played out about as we thought. We forgot to do predictions, by the way, because I didn't know what we were going to like. What do I predict? I don't know how quickly they're trying to get the young guys into the ball game. I figured Florida State would score, more than 42. But
internally, not that this means a thing, I had them winning by 51 in some communications I had. So I'm just going to hang on to that.
That's pretty close, man.
But yeah, we did not do predictions. You're right.
So apologies for us for not doing predictions. Southern Miss was a pretty physical defense, a defense that had some size for the Sun Belt, a fairly aggressive defense at times, and a defense that I thought lacked speed at times as well. Like, some of their open field tackling was not the best. On a down-to-down basis, Florida State was not particularly consistent last night. I mean, you're talking about a success rate at in 30s? You would expect better than that. However, they did just play on Sunday, short rest. You're playing a team that is clearly at least a top 100 team in the country, right? Like, they're not like a Nevada or, just Kent State type or Arkansas State type team. Like, that's a legitimate team that does have some athletes and clearly some flaws. I thought the passing game was sort of out of sync. That's I think it's way too early to be like concerned about a trend because it's 2 games, but I didn't think Jordan was very sharp coming out. And then obviously Johnny Wilson. He's a good player in spite of the drops. He's not a great player because of the drops. Is probably the best way I can put this. Like, he's still a really, really good 2 for you. And, we'll see how he plays going forward. I took a bunch of notes on my phone as I was watching. I'll get to some of these. Ultimately, I mean, passing game wanted to be sharper. Run game, kind of concerning that you go two weeks in a row unable to consistently run the football, right? I know Mo Smith didn't play. We talked about how we obviously, like, the whole stadium saw him last week, pretty banged up. The crowd obviously saw him in a boot tonight, or it's the morning, so not tonight. But a lack of push.
He rode through the Legacy Walk, or whatever they refer to it, on a golf cart in a boot. It's a pretty good indication Mo might have the night off. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I don't know that I need to see him next week. So, it's just they weren't sharp, and they won 66-13. I think that says a lot right there about where you are with this football team in terms of your weapons. And I'm talking about just the offense, because we'll talk about the defense in a second. They're going to have to figure out something to do with counter, because teams are playing that pretty well right now. You're going to need to have more answers to the answers, right? More counters to the counters for counter. And we'll see how those evolve. What I saw tonight was a team that had some concerning things, but still had some serious juice playmaking wise. I didn't love that you had to get to 3rd and 4th down so often. in the first half, right? Like, you faced how many third downs? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. You faced 6 third downs in the first quarter. I would expect you to be hitting more first downs off first down and second down, like not going to third down quite as much, right? And then you faced 4 more third downs in the second quarter. And this may seem like nitpicking, but I'm telling you, this is a stat. How many times does and this is something you can measure a really good team off. How many times do they get pushed to third down? 10 third downs faced in the first quarter, or in the first half, rather. Like that's not nothing, right? How many fourth downs do they have to face? Pretty decent number, actually, right? I think 5 fourth down attempts in the first half. They went 4 or 5, but why are you being pushed to fourth down 5 times? It's because you weren't sharp. I'm sure Norvell is going to be all over them in practice this week about all the mistakes.
Yeah. I think your point about a very large win and an awful lot of coaching to do afterward is very applicable. Obviously, people will look at Johnny Wilson and quick to want to coach some of the habits of not catching the football out of him. I think that's just Johnny. I do think that bigger games, more important throws, he does better. I do think there's a little bit of a concentration issue that pops up. I can tell you just from watching practice, Johnny didn't have any problems catching the ball until kind of like a week before the season. Then you started to see some older habits flare up. So I do think it's obviously catching the ball is much more a mental thing than physical. But that is just from looking at the chat and what originally jumps to my mind, something that jumps up and was kind of indicative of what you're talking about. A team that just wasn't. Look, it's impossible, man. When you spend all summer and you have a team like LSU, a program like LSU that you look at, there's obviously going to be, a little bit of regression afterwards. And when your regression means winning by 53, that's indicative that the program has moved to a good place. This regression is not you and I doing instant reaction at 1 a.m. with them, losing by 3 or, barely winning or whatever else. It's nice to have legitimate elements of frustration and still win by 50. So
100%. Look, I'd still much rather have Johnny Wilson than not. All right. Because you saw it against LSU. 2 drops, 7 catches, 102, and I think he drew 2 PIs. It is who he is. The guy dropped the ball in high school. He had like a 17% drop rate at Arizona State the last year. He was like a 9% drop rate guy last year. You know what you're getting. You're getting a dangerous guy who's not a consistent guy. That's just that is through. I mean, he's what? It's his 4th year in college now. I think 2 at Arizona State. Yeah. And we saw him for 2 years in high school. Like through 6 years, that's basically the sample set, or that's basically what this is. And you're going to keep running him out there because he is dangerous and because he is a big target and because on scramble, he's really good for Jordan. But a consistent catcher of the ball, he is not. He just doesn't have good hands. That's why he's like, if Johnny Wilson had good hands, he wouldn't be here this year. I think he would be in the NFL, right? Personally.
Might not be here last year. Yeah. I mean, you were able to go out and get him at the place you were last year for a reason. And I've mentioned this before. Johnny is probably the most physically, I don't know, imposing, but like when you see the guys in a hotel lobby or whatever else, you're like, oh, wow, that's a big guy and broad shoulders, etc. And then Johnny, you're like, that's a different looking human being.
Yeah.
Johnny catches the ball and he's playing on Sundays for a long, long time. And he still will. He just had a particular flare up last night. And again, rather it happen against Southern Miss than Louisiana State University, and he'll respond and move on. But to an extent, you're right. This is his game. This is what he has to refine. And again, better for it to happen against somebody like last night than LSU, Clemson, or whomever it might be in the future. So
the continued reliance on the big play is, I'm not going to say it's a concern, but like I bet you that's something that Norvell is not real happy about, right? So you had 16 big plays that accounted for 412 yards. You had 554 yards on the night, right? And you ran 69 plays. Nice. So 53 of your plays went for about 140. That's, it's less than 3 yards play, right? That's going to be the stuff they go over in film review. They're like, really? We have 53 plays that are averaging less than 3 yards? And then we have these 16 big plays. And some of the 16 big plays were basically just your athlete is better than Southern Miss's athlete. So, yeah, they weren't super crisp, and they won. Defensively, I thought that this played out almost exactly like we thought, right? We noted that Southern Miss probably has real problems at guard. You were able to get pressure on them instantly quite often. I thought the quarterback actually kind of acquitted himself okay. Like, he's going to be fine in the Sun Belt, man. He made some impressive throws. They had a couple drops over there. They were trying to get rid of the ball really fast, too. And I think it was pretty obvious. Like, giving Frank Gore 11 carries and then getting him out of there. They have, I think, Tulane next week.
Protecting their assets. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right. So defensively, I liked it. You blanketed the receivers. The Casting kid is a fairly good player, I think. And I mean, he had 2 catches on 6 targets. So that's pretty solid. Like, he's a guy who, if he continues to grow, could be like a Power 5 guy next year. So that was a good rep to get. Overall, pretty solid defensive performance. 258 yards, 73 yards allowed, I think, in the first half. That or 70 yards allowed in the first half. That doesn't stink, man. I liked a lot of what I saw there. Just the consistent pressure, but also the defense was sharp. You did not have a lot of mental mistakes on defense. I mean, when Southern Miss made a good play on defense, like there's that one kind of hole shot they hit against the cover 2, which is not even a real defensive mistake, to be honest. The guy just makes a good play. Like, it's sort of, to go Star Wars on you. Here's the Death Star. There's one weakness in his defense. Can you ID it quickly and hit it? And he did. And like, credit to the kid. They're not going to come out there and have a 0% success rate for the Golden Eagles. But you force them to make difficult plays for the most part on the night. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Keem Dent. I mean, the way he pulled up, it's I don't think there's a whole lot of mystery in what that injury is or could be, but you hope you get it back sooner.
You're grabbing the back of your leg before you get there. It's a hamstring.
It's not an ankle. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So I don't think we're stepping out of line. I will say he walked off the field in a manner that, hamstrings are various levels, and hamstrings are tough because, you rely on them for every movement that you make. But I was encouraged to see the way he made his way off the field. That made me think it may not be as significant as it would be otherwise. So we'll see.
You want to talk some freshmen, or do you want to thank some sponsors?
We saw a lot of freshmen last night. I don't think that's to our friend Chris's comment above. Saw a lot of freshmen. Saw Hakeem Williams get in very, very early. But I do want to thank sponsors, and I appreciate the gentle nudge there. No, Madison Social.
New hat?
I saw that. And
noon games.
Was admiring it. Absolutely. Nobody does merch better than our friends over at Madison Social. Other people in the podcast world have taken notice of Congruity and spoke with a couple different people over the weekend about the great work that they've done pairing with us and the great work that they do overall. So always going to thank our friend Matt Lewis at Congruity. Fantastic people and fantastic people to work with. And then, I think that hits where we need to get to. And then Shannon, I didn't see Chad this weekend, but did see Shannon out at the tailgate and his lovely wife, Mia. There are no better people to work with than the legendary team of Shannon and Chad. More than 500 of our listeners. 844 FSU Loan, 844 FSU Loan. Work with Shannon. Work with the There's not a dude that I would recommend more highly to go through that process with other than Shannon Young. He's fantastic. And 500 of our listeners have done it. And I'm not, hopefully I'm not cursing myself, but I've literally never heard a poor word said of Shannon. And he's a fantastic guy to go through that process with. So
let me ask you a question here. Do you remember what the number was we set for the over-under for snaps played by freshmen?
I think we joked about it. Did we ever really set a number?
Maybe the chat will recall, but let's go over this. So Destin Hill is technically a freshman.
Yeah, he is. Yes.
27 snaps. Let me see. Who else do we have here?
Hakeem was the one that jumped at me. Hakeem was in early, very early.
22 snaps for him. So
okay.
Got almost 50 snaps there from 2 freshman receivers.
75. Thank you, chat. Thank you very much.
There we go. 75.
My feeble mind.
Perfect. All right, so we're gonna blow by that number, honestly, because do you know who else got in and played 12 snaps? Dre Jacobs.
Who was that?
So I mean, you have almost 65 snaps from freshman receivers.
Okay. Yeah.
That doesn't stink. Let me see. Who else do we have here? On offense, Goldie Lawrence played 5 snaps.
Goldie, okay.
We might have had 75 snaps just on offense, man.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That was
cool. Brock Glenn played 3.
Yeah, Brock Glenn. Brockland's
good.
Yeah,
or will be good.
He will be. Talked to a lot of people last night about Brockland.
Yeah, you were 100% correct to take the over there, obviously. So, yeah, getting in those freshmen to combat the narrative, obviously. Given that Miami had a nice win, really nice win. They looked much better than I thought they would.
They had a nice win. Congratulations to them.
Good job for the ACC yesterday, man. The SEC.
The ACC and the Pac-10 just putting on Pac-12, whatever it's called.
Well, now it's the Pac-2.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Pac-Dead
until this injunction gets passed.
Pac-Dead had a great day as well. So,
I do think yesterday's result was pretty good for you overall. Although you could argue it the opposite way, right? Because you have the win over LSU that you'd kind of want to be in a situation where you're being compared to like the second SEC team, and you'd go over because you have the win over like a 10 or 11 SEC team. How many freshmen did Miami play yesterday? Let me see. Restrepo, Colby George, Young, Parrish is a junior. Horton is a redshirt freshman, I think. McCormick is a senior. Graham, I'm not seeing a lot of freshmen in this participation report. Now, Maui Goa, the right tackle, he did play, obviously. I think Bain got in there and played. So good on them. But, of their targets at receiver.
Yeah.
23 targets to your old guys. Like 1 target to a redshirt. I played Mark Fletcher, who's a damn good back. So, yeah, I don't know, man. If we're tracking this, we'll have to see. Yeah. I think the SEC is a 1-bid league, though. Basically,
is it 1-bid league?
I think it's a 1-bid league.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you look at Georgia's schedule, right?
Well, Georgia, I mean, look, to be fair, and I know you know this, I'm just saying, when you look at it, know that they had scheduled Oklahoma,
right,
and then they had to cancel because Oklahoma is joining the SEC, so they added another cupcake. But Georgia's schedule is laughable. I mean, it is as easy as a schedule as you could ever have for being an SEC member.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ole Miss almost lost to Tulane's backup quarterback yesterday. Georgia's going to play Tennessee. That should be a ranked win at the end of the year. Auburn really struggled with Cal yesterday and did win, in fairness. UAB just got blown out by the Georgia Southern Eagles. South Carolina, has major problems. Obviously, Kentucky doesn't look like they're really all that improved. Vandy lost by 2 scores to Wake. Florida, I mean, we all have eyes. We saw that. My point is, if Georgia gets to the SEC title game and were to lose to Alabama, I think given this schedule, there's a pretty good chance they don't go. Because we're going to start playing like, what's the best win game, right?
Right.
And LSU, if their culture's not really jacked up, and I'm not convinced it's not, but if they can bounce back culturally, who in the West scares you throwing the football? And they're about to get Mason Smith back with Wingo and Alexander up front. And we know LSU can throw the football around and block it up okay against most defensive fronts. Does Mississippi State scare you? Not really. Does Texas A&M? Kind of, but like their secondary apparently is a disaster. So you're going to have a win over an LSU team that, unless their culture is really jacked, should be like a 9 or 10 win SEC West team, which is generally going to have you in a top 10 ranking. So, yeah. Heisman talk. If I had to put it now, I would have Jordan like, if the Heisman was tomorrow, does he get invited? I think he might. Stats-wise, obviously, huge first game. Second game, not huge stats. I think if they did the voting, it'd be like Ewers 1, Shador 2 right now, just on the media hype. Although that will fade, obviously, because you don't win the Heisman losing 5 games, typically. I think Jordan will be in the conversation because I do think he's going to put good big numbers up. But I want to see more out of this offense overall as far as the consistency, right? The clean operation of the offense, having multiple answers in the run game. Obviously, catching the football would be huge. Feeling pretty good though right now where you're at. Like this, there's still a lot more to like about this team. They just won by 52 points.
53. You saw some new names flash early. Great to see. Just behind the scenes, can't say enough good things about Darian Williams and how much he works, how well he carries himself. Great to see that kid catch an early touchdown. Deuce Spann was featured more early last night than maybe any game that I've seen. So, no, there's some great pieces. And look, not to be redundant, but it's the place you are. A lot to clean up, a lot to improve upon, and you got a 50-point victory. That's the right direction, most definitely. So,
did you draft Toa Philly or did I? Because Toa Philly's playing a lot, by the way.
I think I got to. I can't remember. I think I got Toa Philly because I particularly wanted him on some of the reps that he'll give you in the passing game as well. But I could be wrong. Chat does a better job of remembering stuff like that than the hosts do sometimes.
Next up, Boston College. We will have a full Boston College preview this week. We'll probably also do a little deeper dive on this game to kind of take a look at what some of the young freshmen did. Maybe that'll be a good focus for the Monday night or Tuesday morning show whenever we decide to do it. Boston College does beat Holy Cross. 2 things can be true. 1, yeah, you should be beating Holy Cross by more than that if you were Boston College. Number 2, I do think Holy Cross has one of like the best head coaches in football. Like this guy is an absolute wizard. And I Lance Leipold just kills it at Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I think this guy's in the same conversation. Like I still don't even know his name, but like what they do relative to their talent score every year is nuts. I will note that. So like, yeah, Boston College is not in a good place. Holy Cross is actually kind of decent. Bob Chesney is this dude's name. Okay. I should probably know his name. I'm going to call him this, but like, yeah, their numbers are always really, really good relative to the kind of talent they can get. Where's he from? I did not expect to go down this path this morning. He went to Dickinson College in Pennsylvania. Okay. Cool. You got anything else on this? How about Conrad, though? How about Jerian getting a pick six? That was cool,
great,
man.
Great to see Jerian. Yeah, good kid. Works his rear end off. Great to see a Mississippi kid put points on the board. Obviously, it's not like playing State or Ole Miss, but great to see Jerian get in the end zone and get to Mississippi school. Absolutely.
You think you're going to get Destin a touchdown next game?
Is who?
Destin get a touchdown next game, you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think Destin Hill is an explosion waiting to happen. I mean, it's going to take. I think I said earlier that like Destin was way more prepared than I thought he could ever be, but it still might take to like the Clemson game for him to really get worked into the offense. Just as far as it just takes time, man. And it was great to see Vandarius Jacobs get out there and get some burn and get some plays as well. Yeah, Destin Hill is the piece of this offense that people outside of this program are not familiar with. And he will have a day, I promise you, he will have a day where he formally introduces himself to everybody out there.
That speed for real.
Yeah.
I guess last word for me. What we got?
Matt Burns, funny comment.
It's destined to happen. Look at that, man. I've been thinking about this. I like the coordination of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fuller and Surtain, I know it's been 2 games. And obviously, like Southern Miss is not a real threat. And LSU may have some problems. Got you. But they've got the secondary playing well together. You know, like those guys are not having a lot of busts, knock on wood, obviously. But for a secondary, I think we both believe have players who will play in the NFL, but are probably not like super high draft picks. What you have to do is use your physical abilities and also not have the mental mistakes. If we're going to tout how veteran the secondary is, how much ball they've played, right? How much they've played together, this is the result that you want. You want to make everybody earn it. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
It's encouraging. It's encouraging. I mean, you still haven't seen anything where, you know, guys are pointing at each other or somebody just wide open, you know, gains 40 yards or whatever else.
You saw a little bit on the offense yesterday of that.
I think
like guys getting frustrated with each other, but defensively, totally.
Yeah. Clemson doesn't have pieces that will test you, but Clemson will do something. I mean, Clemson will show stuff to you that you haven't seen before. I'll be very interested, and obviously we've got a lot of time to look forward to that game and talk about it. But no, the secondary has been what you would want if you're bringing in a new coach and a defense coordinator who's pretty confident. He had shored up some of the issues in the back end. So,
Fabian 12 snaps. Just going down the list here.
About right. I mean, I think we said I'd play him
a series,
you know, play him 2 series and get him out. So yeah. That's mass right on that.
Justin Cryer 10 snaps, so good to see there. Blake Nicholson 23 snaps. Who else here? DeMarco Ward got it for 15. This is why we do the rewatch. I saw Cryer and Nicholson. I did not remember seeing Ward, so good on him there. Ashland got in, the new safety.
Yeah. Oh. You can be seeing a decent amount of that dude in the future. I don't know if he's it's not appropriate for me to speculate on position changes, but that's a safety that could play other positions. I'd be very interested to see, you know, what he grows into, because when
Coach Storm's line
out
one.
There practice
Coach Storm's
and you look
line
at him,
one.
you're like, how did a linebacker get back there with the safeties? He's just a big. They hit on that one. Very good evaluation, good player, but he's got the ability to play multiple positions.
Oh, and Brown Turner also got 3 snaps. Got to admit, I was not paying attention to the game at that point.
Yeah,
but that's awesome. Peter Warwick Jr., obviously.
Yeah,
Floyd. Cool, man. All right, let's. I did not think we were going to do 27 minutes. I feel pretty good about where this team is right now. I feel pretty good about some of the national results. last night. I mean, one of the teams that I was worried about playing lost last night. With what you have up front, I was going to be worried about blocking Alabama, especially if they got there and their offensive line had gelled in time. Like, could they block you? And Texas hung an L on them. So there's a chance to get another one. Go back to like what we said at the Tampa Knowles thing. Certain teams that maybe you just don't love the matchup with. They took an L last night. Now, granted, Texas does not look like they'd be easy to play because Texas may have figured out the line of scrimmage and they have an amazing play caller. So does FSU, I think, honestly. And they got really good receivers. But yeah, that's kind of an important one. Oh, Pitt lost to Cincinnati. That's problematic for them. That's kind of a game you can't lose.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap it there.
Yeah, man. Awesome. 30-minute, not so instant reaction to Florida State beating Southern Miss by 53. Great to do it. Thank you again to all our sponsors who make podcasts like these possible. Appreciate all y'all in the chat. Enjoyed seeing y'all's responses. And yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back pretty soon because we're doing this on a Sunday. So should have another Nolecast out for you probably by Tuesday, and we'll go from there.
Oh, I missed the prize picks barely.
Which
the FSU one, the kicker one I sent out ended up being terrible. So strong apologies to that, guys. I went 1 of 6 on the kicker one, so really got smoked there. The FSU one, Johnny Wilson under on the fantasy score.
Less.
Less on the fantasy score. Correct. Jordan Travis less on the fantasy score. Again, a lot of running, and probably not a lot of Jordan running on the goal line was the impetus there.
Yeah, Trey Benson took some of his points away. Yeah,
exactly. Travis Hunter less on the receiving yards.
Love that. He was 73.5, and he was at 73.
Quality 73
with a push quarter.
Yeah, yeah. And then Ben Urasek, the Stanford tight end, caught like 11 balls against Hawaii. Only caught 4 against USC, so I missed that by 1. And Miles Price, the Texas Tech receiver, missed it by a half. So very annoying. Almost hit a 20-1 shot, but didn't get it. So accountability. We'll try to do better next week.
We'll go again. We most certainly will.
Yeah. 4 in the first half, none in the second half.
Okay.
So that was great. Thanks, Texas Tech. I don't know about this sleeve stuff with Johnny. Guys, I don't think the sleeves is what causes the drops.
I would love to think that a shirt selection could clean up issues as easy as that. So, just part of his game. You'd rather have a flare up against Southern Miss than LSU. I'll be consistent with that. And yeah, like you said, that's part of the reason you were able to get him, and part of what you're still trying to coach out of his game.
See you guys.